Wanted to touch on the Browns as well. Last week they kind of played their first game without OBJ. Ended up in a huge win against the Bengals. They dominated in that game, but that was not the case this week at all. They got absolutely manhandled by Mac Jones and the Patriots. And if you could see Brandon right now, man. If only you could see Brandon. I can't wait for this thing to turn to a video. Brandon is like smiling from ear to ear. He can't even hold himself. But yeah, the Patriots won that one pretty handedly, 45-7. Um, and obviously, he was like the Browns and Baker Mayfield are going up against a defensive mastermind in Bill Belichick. And both their star running backs were actually out injured for that game. So that could explain in part why they only scored 7 points. So Brandon, I'm coming to you first because this was your team's game. Was Sunday night's game just a blip in the in the radar for the Browns, or is that a sign of things to come for the Browns?
It's been a sign all year. Like, first off, the Patriots kicked ass. Mac Jones kicking ass. Um, and obviously, you guys have heard me rant about how I vouched from him since way before he was drafted. So it's good to see these things pay off in games like that. Um, but the missing piece obviously is an OBJ. He's been in and out of the lineup with injuries. Um, the missing piece is the run game. And when both starting running backs were named out for this game, I was worried because Damian Harris has been such a big part of the Patriots offense that I was worried about how that would go. But we adapted, and Baker cannot. Every time he has had to rely on his throwing versus a heavy run game and sort of building off of that, it's been a failure. As soon as the run game gets shut down against the Browns, they don't score. They can't come back. I don't know why Baker is being sold as this huge next contract guy when it's very obvious that he's a game manager. Um, so, I mean, I think the Browns are pretty high up in the Super Bowl odds to start the season. And I feel like, along with a lot of people, I was, I wouldn't say losing hope. I never even believed it. The Browns find a way to do Browns things. And this is it. Nick Chubb gets injured. This season is going to go terribly. They need him in the lineup. They could do with or without Baker. They could do with or without OBJ. The missing piece is Nick Chubb. That's it.
I mean, I definitely disagree with you that Nick Chubb is the main focus of that team. I mean, you saw what happened with the run game to start off the game. Ernest Johnston came in, did play pretty well, put up good numbers. I think it's just the overall organization is just kind of, disoriented. Baker has no idea exactly what's going on. He might have visited Urban Meyer's chop house too much on the weekends when he's not playing. Um, it just seems like he's just overall not into the game, or he tries too hard, and then obviously mistakes happen, and it's time and time again. And I think some of the pressure is getting to him that he knows that he's in a contract year. He wants to get that next year contract, but that pressure is mounting onto him, and it's not doing well for him. I mean, overall, I think the Browns are, the Browns is the Browns. Even though they got a pretty good offense, pretty good defense. I think it's the front office. Draft really well, did everything well, but it seems like they're they're stuck in their own world, and it's not going to be any changing anytime soon coming up.
Not to mention, their defense is normally very good. Like, their defense is normally top two the past couple of years in the league. Like, very, very good. Like, you dread playing against them good. And that didn't seem to be the case. That, I think, is just a blip. Like, that defense will come back. Obviously, they've got a ton of stars on that defense. So I think on the whole, the game was a blip. But I don't agree with you. I think Nick Chubb is a bigger part of that running game than you realize. I don't think Dearness Johnson is bad. Obviously, he had a couple hot starts. And he had a really good game the first game. I just think as soon as that run game falls apart, so does the rest of the team, it feels like. And they need to be more than just like a run game with a few play action pieces in there. They need to be more versatile, because as soon as the defense figures you out, unless you adapt, then you're not very good. We're seeing that across the league with a few quarterbacks and a few teams. So they need to be able to adjust to continue the game of chess that is the defense adjusts them, and then they need to change to adapt to that. Um, so, I mean, I don't care if they come back from it. I don't care about the Browns. The Patriots beat them. That's all that matters.
I mean, this might be an afterthought coming up, for the off season, but Browns might push for a quarterback if they see that Baker's not the solution. So with Miami maybe dropping out of the race for Deshaun, maybe see the Cleveland making a push for Deshaun. Um, they have a pretty good defense, pretty good offense. Deshaun would add an extra element, with his running powers. Maybe that's the missing piece that the Browns needed, and Baker can be a backup somewhere, because everybody knows that besides the Browns, giving him a new contract, he's going to be a backup anywhere else.
Is he going to Mitch Trubisky the situation? He's just going to end up a backup to somebody like Josh Allen.
Yeah, maybe, or even Josh Rosen. I mean, now I understand why. We're kind of getting off course here, but I understand why the the Cardinals, decided to release or trade Josh Rosen away. I mean, his first throw in the game last Sunday was a pick. So I can see why the teams are not signing him, and I see why he ended up going with the Falcons. But hey, he might be up on the coming ups. If Matt Ryan just plays poorly, he might gets a chance to start a couple games for the Falcons for the season.
I think Josh Rosen is going to be a career backup. I think his time to be a starter has come and gone. It was a little off topic, but I think he'll just end up being a career backup. But these guys still make a decent chunk of money. I mean, they still play a couple games.
Yeah, I mean, look at Chase Daniels. Guy's been in the league for like 18 years, averaging 2-3 million a year as a backup. He's living good.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, being a backup is not terrible. Realistically, there's only 32 starting jobs in the NFL or in the world, really. So I mean, there's a huge pool of quarterbacks, and not that many of them are elite enough to be of the top 32. There's nothing wrong with being a backup. Just obviously, if you've been a starter for a couple of years, like in Baker's situation, if you've been a starter for 4 years, that's a hard adjustment. That was the conversation about Cam, right? You were a starter for so long. How do you then go to being a clipboard king? I don't think he will. Like, I think he's in the same situation as Cam. I don't know if there's 32 quarterbacks that are better than Baker Mayfield. There might be 32 quarterbacks that are easier to get along with. And there might be 32 quarterbacks that aren't as arrogant. But I don't know if there's 32 quarterbacks that are entirely better.